And let's carry on our recap of the last few weeks. And looking back at the weekend just gone, in Minehead, a record extending 7th Players' Championship Finals title for Michael van Gerwen. He hits a 9-darter and a 170 in the final on the way to beating Rob Cross. And he was fairly emotional afterwards on stage after winning that final. Does he go to Ali Pali as the player to beat this year?
I think you have to say he does. I mean, that doesn't mean that he can't and won't be beaten. Granted, he wasn't beaten last year because he had to pull out due to COVID, but that's probably not going to be a problem this year. I think he is the player to beat, and he should be the player to beat because he's won the Players' Championship. He's won the Premier League. He's won the World Match Play. He's won the Grand Prix. He's been the most likely player this year to win the majors. And yes, he's been defeated. And yes, he very likely can be defeated there at the World Championship again. But I can't see how I can't see how you couldn't say that he's the player to beat. He has been the player of the year. The only player that I could see stealing player of the year in our post-World Championship awards from him would be if either Luke Humphries or Michael Smith won the World Championship and Michael van Gerwen goes out early. Even if Van Gerwen goes and loses the quarterfinals and one of them wins it, I think he still should be player of the year. He's had that good of a season, and he only is coming in with off of a major success. What could have he been beaten in the Players' Championship final? Yes. Cameron Menzies had him against the wall in the first round. It was 4-all. It missed a bunch of darts at double to go 5-4 up. And I mean, who knows what would have happened over the next two legs had he checked that out. Very well that Van Gerwen still would have held, and then Van Gerwen would have broken in 10 darts and won at 6-5. We will never know. But Menzies had that chance in that early on, and things might then have been different. But Michael van Gerwen is going to come in as a major champion yet again. He's going to come in with confidence. He's going to come in knowing that he's now playing at the level needed to be world champion. He is the player to beat. He can be beaten, and we'll talk about that over our next couple of shows as we preview the World Championship. So he's definitely not a foregone conclusion, but he is and should be the player to beat. And if he becomes world champion for the 4th time, it really, really would not be that surprising.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up the Weekly Darts Cast Player of the Year, because there's going to be a lot of big silverware being handed out over the next few weeks and months ahead, but none bigger than that Weekly Darts Cast Player of the Year. And that is one of our questions of the week that we've put out, and it is, who do you think is going to win that Player of the Year title this year? And looking at how the poll's going at the moment, it's going to be open for the whole week on our Twitter page, so do go on there, have your say. And Michael van Gerwen, is he going to win it? 83% of our listeners are going with yes. And you mentioned a few players there that if they were to win that Silverdale Trophy, they could maybe steal that title from Michael van Gerwen, Luke Humphries, Michael Smith. I'll throw Josh Rock in there as well. He's just won the World Youth Championship on Sunday last night when we were recording this with that 104 average, a record for that tournament's final. And the year that he's had, first year on the tour, has been mightily impressive. And if he was to go and win that title, he could be the one to sneak that Player of the Year title. But as far as Michael van Gerwen, he was very emotional afterwards on stage and talked about his family as well. And you think about how long Michael's been playing the game, and he was hitting 9-darters, winning major titles 2006, 2007 times, so 15, 16 years ago. And probably back then the motivation for him was to do it for himself, to prove to the world that he is the best player in the world. And he may be your number one of all time right now, but if he's not, he's probably your number two. So he's done a pretty good job of that so far, and he's not done yet, as we've seen this year. And okay, the big motivation now, the extra motivation, if you like, is coming from his family, being a dad now as well. But you look at the year that he's had, and he's got back to winning major titles. You think back to this time 12 months ago, we were going into the World Championship, and for the first time in a long, long time, Michael van Gerwen was going into it not holding a major title. But this year he's got the Premier League, he's got the World Match Play, the World Grand Prix, now the Players' Championship finals as well. He's won the most senior titles out of anyone in the PDC this year, but he has had a few scares along the way. And even the final on Sunday night against Rob Cross, he got into that 7-3 lead. Rob Cross, what a comeback he was starting to put on in that third session. He won 3 legs on the spin, got it back to 7-6, missed 2 darts to go 7-all. And what does Michael van Gerwen do? Pulls out that 170 finish, and that really did turn the tide in that final. And he went on to win it fairly comfortably in the end. I think 11-6, 11-7, something like that. But there are moments when Michael does switch off, and they're the moments that the players are going to have to capitalise on. But you've got to say there's not going to be anyone more confident in that 96 player field than Michael van Gerwen. He is the favourite with the former title sponsors of this event, William Hill 11-4, Gerwyn Price is next, the world number one at 6-1, then Michael Smith 7-1, Peter Wright, the defending champion 8-1, and Josh Rock in his debut 14-1. But yeah, I think Michael van Gerwen, out of all 96 players, he is going to be the player to beat. He says himself, he said it many times before, that people have got to play well to beat him, and to be fair, they have done it at Ali Pali, aside from last year, as you mentioned, having to pull out due to the virus. But in previous years, it has taken some special efforts to get him out of Ali Pali. You think Dave Chisnell a couple of years ago, Peter Wright in the final the year before that. So, yeah, we've seen it happen before, but there is going to be no player with more confidence, with more silverware under their belt this year going to Ali Pali, and that makes Michael van Gerwen a very dangerous player.